I look so small.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us for the Chester County Marketing On Air show. I'm one of your co-hosts, Carla Wilson, owner of Wilson Media Services, and I'm joined today by my colleague.
Hey, I'm right here, same camera, Jeff Tincher.
And you're with what company, Jeff?
I'm with my 610 Digital.
There we go.
Marketing company.
And we do a Hangout on Air twice a month of about 10 to 30 minutes in length, in which we share tips, tricks, and expertise in online marketing. We are honored today because we have one of our Chester County Marketing Group members with us who will also be on the show. Coreen, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Coreen Tossona, and I'm a freelance marketing consultant and copywriter, and looking forward to continuing the discussion on editorial calendars.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, we're like trying to produce at the same time. We're trying. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Obviously, Jeff and I are in the same room, which is unusual.
Yes.
I was having my house is for sale. I was having a showing on my house, so we decided I would broadcast from one of the rooms in Jeff's house, and then Jeff was having computer issues, so we've decided we'll just be on the same camera this morning.
Yeah, we'll just go up here and do this.
So what I want to do is just give you a brief overview of what happened on our last episode, because today's episode is really kind of a part two. So about 2 weeks ago, we had an editorial calendar discussion where we talked about the what, when, why of using an editorial calendar. Coreen shared with us some great resources if you wanted to use something other than an Excel spreadsheet, which some of us use. I believe we mentioned Trello, Kapost, Percolate, and
Co-schedule.
Co-schedule, exactly. So I think it was a great discussion because, as one of the viewers posted last week, or 2 weeks ago, she said, thank you for covering a topic that everybody hates. She found it really helpful because she found that she would learn some new resources for keeping her editorial calendar. So what we wanted to do with today's episode is really kind of take it to the next step. So this will be part two of the editorial calendar discussion, and it's really more about how to use your editorial calendar, but more importantly, how to keep up with it and how to keep it going. So, all right, let's get this going. So, what do you think is one of the best ways to keep a editorial calendar going? And you know what, Jeff? I'm going to ask you to start since the camera's already on you. Go.
Sure. Throw me in there. It's a little weird here with Carla right down the same screen, so I smile a lot, but it's kind of really weird. To be honest, it's just one of those days, I guess, out here. But trying to keep involved with that, just to keep it going, is just set aside some time weekly to review that. Whether that be on a Friday, a Monday, the start of the week, the end of the week, depending on how your business cycle runs, and that it'd be good to have a time and a 30-minute block to just review what's coming up for the week and the next week, and then have a more of a brainstorming session where you sit down by yourself, or if you have a team, where you sit down and actually carve out and create the calendar, and then this way you're blocking that time off in your schedule to make sure that you try to follow it as best as you can. And we all know things happen, and this is one of those things that you might push off because you think you can get to it the next day, but try to stick with it and build that into the schedule and just come back to it. So that's one of the things you really need to do, is just to have that time set aside.
Coreen, would you agree with that, or what other suggestions do you have?
I do agree with that. I would sum it up in 2 words, really: commitment and buy-in. You really do. Once it's easy to choose an editorial calendar, create one, and let it go. And you put all that thought and trouble into it. You don't want to shortchange yourself. So really, the first thing you have to do is really commit to trying it out. Give yourself at least a month, and I would say a quarter, but really get you and your team to commit to using it and giving it a fair shot. And the buy-in comes in with, you really have to have buy-in for everybody who's going to use it and value their input. So those first month, 2-3 months are all about that trial and error period where you're getting feedback from the team on what's working and what doesn't work. And that way, if you're open to being flexible about it and changing it so that it works for the entire team, people are more likely to stick with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely have to, definitely will agree with you on that. I quite honestly, I've only worked on one team, one marketing team where we had a shared editorial calendar. I guess I'm actually now, I now have a second client with that same situation where I'm in charge of the calendar and I've got a couple people using the calendar at the same time. I think for me, as a small business owner, one of the things that I find difficult is, as you said, Coreen, it's so easy to create the calendar, but then trying to keep with it and keep up with it is really the challenge. And I think that it's really, for me, it's a discussion about task management. As Jeff said, set aside some time, Mondays or Fridays to really either do the, basically take everything that you've planned and do the scheduling out, for me, I actually have to do it on a daily basis. I have to set aside some time and make it really, honestly, sacred time that no other task can take its place, really. Whether that's I say, okay, like the first hour of the day, I'm going to be working on marketing this week. And handling all the editorial calendar tasks to get those done. And then, it's done and then it's off your plate and then you're not worried about it. So I think it is really more about not time management, but task management, just kind of knowing how much time you're going to need and then blocking that out on your calendar and then not moving that time,
Yeah. I think it's also what you've touched on is it's making it a habit. And what is it? How many days does it take to make a habit stick? What is it? 20, 30, something like that?
Yeah.
21.
Because what's going to happen if you let it go is, let's say you start and you're like, oh, this is great, and by the end of the week you've tapered off and the next week you're not using it as much. What's going to happen is a few weeks down the road, you're going to be lost again and disorganized and not really staying in line with your goals and wondering how things got to this place and going, oh, I should really have an editorial calendar.
Right.
And you have to go back to instituting it all over again. So it really does make sense to just make that commitment up front and make it a habit, and then you can tweak it.
Yeah. And let's go back. I'm actually going to do a little bit of a review from our discussion last week. So how long do you think an editorial calendar should be? Like, how far out should you plan it? Should it be a year? Should it be a month? Should it be a quarter? What do you think?
Well, I think Jeff and I were saying last time that big picture, the year, but really you can make it as short as you want. I personally would say at least schedule, take a look at the quarter, but adapt it to what's going to work for you. Because if scheduling a year is overwhelming, or scheduling a quarter is overwhelming, you're not going to want to do it. However, a point that Jeff made last time was you may have an event, let's say it's January, you may have an event that you know is coming up in September. You want to make sure that you at least have a marker for that on the editorial calendar because you're going to want to promote it a few months before.
Exactly.
So here's another way to think about it too. We all have wall calendars or house calendars. So if we take the common sense approach of just using what we use in our everyday with a 12-month calendar, we start out in the beginning of a year, we grab that calendar, maybe we get the one that's the 18-month calendar, whatever. But what the first thing most people do is they're going to go write birthdays in there because they know when they are. They know that there's one in December. They know they're in October. They might know an anniversary. So those are like your events. So you're going to put those on the calendar at a year's approach, so you just know when they are and you get it done. It's a done thing. And then you might have something like, oh, well, I know a trip's coming up next month or 2 months out, so you'll put that into your quarterly calendar. And then you might have a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment or something going on with the kids, and you're going to have those be more specific down with the actual time, what's happening. So if you look at it, it's just a calendar. So don't think, oh my gosh, it's an editorial calendar. I've never heard of these two words before. What does it mean? It's a calendar that you put the stuff that you're going to put. I say stuff because a lot of people are like, well, what is it? It's the stuff, it's the content that you're putting on your social media, your email marketing, or your blog. So it's all those things, and the closer the date approaches, the more specific you're going to be to have those, exactly what is the topic, or is it going to be a 3-part series that I'm going to put on my blog over the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks? do I put something on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and the blog and email over the course of 2 weeks, spreading it out. So that kind of brings in that approach to help other people understand exactly.
Yeah.
Great
analogy.
Or to be more broad-minded.
Exactly. I think to Jeff's point, that way, when you look at it that way, it makes it so much easier because I'm the repurposing girl. It's all about repurposing the content you've posted. So maybe you have created this three-part blog series that you're going to be posting. Well, couldn't that be a 3-part video series that could go on your YouTube channel next month? Or couldn't that be, a podcast? Couldn't that be 3 separate podcast episodes? So, and I think if you're, again, looking at the calendar, it's just easier to plan if you're looking at a full calendar as well. Can we think of any other strategies for making sure that all of these editorial tasks get done?
Printing it out, like having it in your face, in front of you as a go-to thing, and I think that's going to help with 2 reasons. One, you're going to see it. If you have something that pops into your mind, like something changes with the business or something changes with the world around us, you want to make sure you understand that I shouldn't probably post this message tomorrow because it's we've had discussions about this before, Carla, where you have to know what's going on in your region. If it's a bad weather day, if there's a tragedy or something, you want to hold off on that. So having that calendar in front of you is going to keep you honest when it comes to knowing when to post, what to do, and when to actually pull back if you have to. And it keeps you spread out and saying, I'm not jamming too much in this week, and then look, next week I only have 1 post going out, and I have 10 this week. Well, you're probably going to annoy people maybe by having so much going out, depending on the audience you have. Whereas the next week you might not have enough, so move some things around on that as well. And like you said, you can go back and repost content week to week, or at a different platform, or hey, did you know about this? Let's go back and revisit it so you can see how it is.
Yeah, exactly. Coreen, anything else to add?
Yeah, I think you make one person the overseer too. If you're dealing with a group that is all using the same editorial calendar, you have one person whose responsibility it is to make sure that it's being used, and who looks at the content being posted and goes back to the calendar and says, oh, wait a second, we had this scheduled to go this day, why didn't this go up, or why didn't this happen? And have check-ins. Whatever frequency of meetings or conversations works for you, have check-ins. Especially, you'll have more check-ins up front right after you create the editorial calendar, just to make sure things are working and get feedback, than you will throughout the year. But once you get it going, I would say, you check in with the team at least once a month, maybe twice a month, just, again, to keep making sure that it's working for everybody, and keep making sure that people are being responsible for the content that's assigned to them, and the ideas that are posted. Because I know one of the things that happens is, we talked about last time, adding a place for ideas, where anyone can add ideas. Well, the key to that is going back and looking at that page and making sure you're executing on some of those ideas. So you really do need at least one person who's responsible for making sure things don't get lost.
Yeah, good stuff. And I think to add to that, I think another good, this is kind of going back to our planning discussion, but again, I think as far as the time management and getting it done aspect is having a page where you're tracking everything. You're tracking your number of followers on your social media networks, or you're tracking the number of followers of your blog, and then you're going back and looking at those numbers and letting those numbers help you determine how to move forward. So even if you have done the planning for the upcoming month, maybe you change it around because you realized you're getting more followers on social media with your posts. So maybe you're going to bump up the social media post rather than the something else, just based on those numbers. Right. Anything else, guys?
No, that was good. But especially the going back and looking to see what's working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm all about. I like to think that I make pretty good, educated guesses on things. But when I have numbers to base decisions on, I feel much more confident in my suggestions when I'm consulting with a client. If I have numbers, I can say, oh, look, the open rate on your newsletter is 35% this month because we use this subject line versus the 17% open rate from last month or whatever. Just something like that, those numbers you have that you can rely on.
It's important too to go back and share that with your team too if you are doing a team calendar, because that way they understand the positive results that are coming from the calendar are not just in terms of organization, but also boosting visibility, and you're actually getting results. People are more likely to want to do something when they can see the results that are happening because of it.
Exactly.
And I do a lot of analysis or analytics with what I do for clients and such, and that's one thing you want to be able to do is just to show here's what you've been doing, and here's the time you invested in one. Maybe it's a couple hours a month that you invested in the editorial calendar, in the brainstorming, in the actual execution, and the management of it. And you want to make sure what you're putting out there is getting you something back, whether it be traffic, visitors, conversions, and that. So like Carla and Coreen said. Knowing those numbers are going to be able to say, like, hey, these posts over here are netting me 50% more traffic. Why? Oh, because they're funny, or they're more informational. Where these are trying to sell, maybe they're not bringing them in on certain platforms. So you might want to make the selling aspect of your business go out on email, where social media might be the fun, the behind the scenes, and you can see how things grow. And that's how it should be for the most part, anyway. So track back on opens and the traffic that you get from those posts to your site using Google Analytics or some other type of analytic package, open rate on email as well. So awesome. It's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Good point.
It proves the point of why you should be using editorial calendar and content in general. So
Exactly.
Well, guys, as usual, I think we've had a pretty good discussion here. I think we brought up some good points. Audience, those viewers that joined us today, we really appreciate it. Again, just to explain, well, just know that I'm broadcasting from Jeff's house. Jeff's computer's not working.
Yes. So our takeaway tip of the day here is to either restart your computer ahead of time, which I normally do.
That's best practice.
Best practice on Google Hangout.
Yes.
To get it set up a half hour before the show, which I did.
Yes.
But then Google was like, you have to reinstall the Hangout plugin. Never had to do that before, and now it's giving me an error. So even on my laptop. So I don't know if it's me. It's the rainy. It's the gloomy.
A full moon.
It's the full moon, and all the planets are on a line, right? Aren't they in alignment and doing a parade of planets last night?
Oh, I don't know. That sounds like a positive thing now.
I know. I don't know. He's a yogi. He's an astrologist.
Before we end the show today and do our closing, we want to shout out to one of our Chester County Marketing Group members, Jim Breslin, whose book Shoplandia is launching today.
Yay!
Thank you, Breslin. Woohoo! And I'm sure you can find Shoplandia on Amazon.
Yes, it is on Amazon.
Oh, good. See, thanks for covering that for me, Coreen. I knew. I forgot to bring my little. He had an awesome postcard that talked about where he was going to be visiting and where to get the book. Mm-hmm. So anyway, go buy Jim's book Shoplandia. I'm sure. I can't wait to get it and read it. It'll be very interesting. So, Coreen, why don't you tell everybody how they can find you on the web if they'd like to reach out to you if they need freelance copywriting assistance.
Okay. Well, first I'll add that Jim is launching the book at Chester County Book Company tonight. 6. You can show up anytime between 6 and 7. He'll be signing books and also giving a short presentation at 7. As far as finding me, I'm all over the web. You can find me at ctmarcom on Twitter. You can find my under construction website at ct-mar.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. Good luck spelling my name. You might want to write that down. It's on the lower third. But yeah, and feel free to reach out to me too, or any of us about questions about editorial calendars, because we're all, as you can see, pretty friendly people, especially Jeff and Carla today. Doing the twin set. I like it. I like the 2 on 1 screen.
We just had one big shirt with like.
And you know what? I also want to add that don't worry about frustrations with the calendar up front or how much time it's taking. It will take you more time as you start it. It will not take you as much time once you get used to it and work out the kinks.
Yeah,
like anything.
That's a very good added point.
Such as life.
Because it's Well, everybody's looking for hints and tricks, and then you don't want to get too, I guess, bogged down or worried that you're going to be bogged down all the time. So I think that is a good point to make, Coreen. Thank you. Jeff, why don't you tell everybody where folks can find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Jeff Tincher, as well as 610digital.com. And our website here for the Chester County Marketing Group is chescomarketing.com. And I'm on LinkedIn as well, so just look up my name.
Oh, fantastic. All right, guys, Coreen, Tossona, Jeff Tincher, and for me, Carla Wilson, owner of Wilson Media Services. We thank you for watching our Chester County Marketing On Air show. Look for us again in 2 weeks. I forget what our topic is, although we do have it planned.
Video.
Oh.
It might be video.
Video. Imagine that. Yeah, it's my episode. Okay, so in 2 weeks we'll be talking about how to create quick video for your business. Yay, I'm so glad we have a show schedule.
I know, right?
Do you want to talk about the meetup too?
Oh, yes, we do.
Yeah. So we have a meetup, a meeting scheduled for May 20th. It is in Chester Springs, Pennsylvania at the Liberty Union Bar and Grill. Talking there about, I think we'll continue this discussion live, and for the attendees that show up, plus how to use some of the tools that maybe we talk about. I go on it. Coreen, are you going to be able to attend?
Yeah, I'll be there.
So it would be great if you've used any of those editorial tools out there. If not, we might just take a peek at some of the screenshots and such from like a Percolate or like the co-schedule and that. And I'm also going to bring in how to use Hootsuite, because a lot of people were asking how can I use that to manage, and that's the whole topic of the meeting, is to talk about how to manage your social media amongst different platforms and really be able to streamline and be very efficient when it comes to doing that. So that is, again, May 20th. 6 o'clock to 7 is our social happy hour business networking event, and then at 7 o'clock we start presentation and go on from there.
Fabulous. And Coreen, thank you for the reminder.
You think we would have known to do that?
Oh my gosh. We're like, let's be sure to promo Jim's book.
Yeah.
And we completely forgot about our own event. Okay. So yeah, go buy Jim's book, but please come to our Chester County Marketing in-person meeting on the 20th. We appreciate it. So folks, thank you again. We will see you in 2 weeks. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.